Many of us can be disappointed on our first failure, maybe even discouraged. I remember that feeling when I was around 10 years old, when I feel like my whole life was about to stop just because of this single moment where I felt like I lost everything. Just because I was told when I was 8 to 10 years old that I wasn't really great enough to be in this team. And that destroyed my mental that day. Around the age of 15, I started to realise the real truth, the real thing behind failure. And the fact that failure isn't as bad as we think it is. Even though failure, we dread failure a lot, I still do. I dread making mistakes. I mean, let's be honest, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to fail. But also the thing is, on top of that I've also realised as well within the past 5 years, is that failure is the very thing that's going to get us to the places where we want to go. Without failure, there is no space for growth. How are we meant to grow if there's not something for us to learn about? We need to learn about something, and sometimes that happens during making mistakes. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we do something and it fails. And that's how we learn on what worked, what doesn't, and then we can implement the things that did work and test out new things and see what else works as well to then grow. So without failure, then there is no growth. Now, maybe our first failure, the feelings are a bit exaggerated just because it's something that we've never experienced before, than it would be if we experience failure constantly. Then we understand more and more about failure and how it's not something we should be stressed about. But the great thing is that we now know what failure feels like. The dread that comes with it, the sadness, the pain, the internal pain, maybe not physical, but internal pain that comes along with failure. There's times where I do things and put work and effort into my goals and dreams. And then when something fails or when something doesn't go to plan, then I start to go, well, how is this possible? I've gave it my all, I've done this, I've done that, I've done anything or everything I think I could have done. But it won't be as bad, I'm sure, as our first failure. And our first failure can teach us a lot about what it's like to fail so that we can grasp an understanding on how to keep us calm during other future failures. The thought of something bad happening is worse than actually experiencing it. And I don't know why that is. I don't know the ins and outs scientifically, but I just find that very crazy as well. Even the harsh worries that we go through, there's been times in my life where I've worried constantly about things happening and then they just never happened. Or maybe school day would come and I would worry about something maybe to do with school, and then that moment came and either it was never as bad as I imagined it, or it just never even happened. So I just still find that weird even now. And I do find it crazy that our minds can just put us through so much mental stress, even though I would say 80 to 95% of the time, what we think about the worst case scenario never really does happen. I don't know about you, but that's something that I experience. When I do make mistakes, when I do experience the harsh challenges and the failure itself, I start to think of ways on how I can become better. I start to think of ways on how I can improve on the thing that I'm doing and how I can prove myself and even prove the people in my family that are doubting me. There's a lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there is more than one people that I would say that is doubting me, that is doubting my ability to do the things that I want to do on this earth. And I've only told a select few of people. I'm so fortunate enough that I do have one or two people that really do believe in me. The others, maybe they might not so much, but that's totally fine because I can use the opinions of people, the failures that they might see me going through, not even to use it as motivation, but to use it as fuel. Essentially the same thing, I know that, but to use it as something to push me even further towards actually achieving that goal and proving them wrong. And sometimes even proving the doubts that I have. I don't know about you, but for me, I get self-doubt quite a lot. So whenever I do experience failures, again, I try to improve, I try to think of ways, and I also ultimately try to prove myself wrong. And each step that I take, and I know it sounds cliche, but genuinely, each step that I do take towards continuing on the path and the goals that I'm on, I do find it so helpful because it proves all the doubts that I have. I would say I get self-doubt almost every single day, every single hour of my entire life. And it's something that I'm still trying to control. It's not as bad as it used to be. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, let's be honest. But I can use the doubts that even I have myself to prove myself wrong. So I do feel like there's always a benefit to anything that we go through. There's always something that we can try and push ourselves. We can take something, whether it's doubt, whether it's failure, and we can use it to push us even further, to use it as motivation, to use it as fuel, to use it as inspiration, to help us grow. I truly believe there's a benefit to anything and everything. There's always something that we can take from anything and everything that we go through. I believe there's always lessons that we can take away. And each step that we put into our goals and dreams, we get to answer our own questions. We get to prove those doubts wrong from ourselves and from the doubts that other people have about us. And one thing that I do now is that instead of seeing failure, although we can dread failure, and I still do, it's not really great to experience failure, even though it can teach us a lot of things. Going through it and being in that moment isn't really easy. It's not easy. It's still difficult. It's still challenging. Even knowing what feels like the truth about failure. But I've changed my mindset in a way where I've started to see failure as a teacher. It's a teacher that puts me through maybe harsh, challenging moments. And then at the end of it, I come out with a lesson or something that can help me with maybe the thing that I'm going through, or help me with the future challenges, or I can use it as something to help me with the other things that I'm going through in the present moment as well. So I also try to see failure as a teacher, because that's what it is. Failure is a teacher. It teaches us on the things that we're doing right and on the things that we're doing wrong. When we do experience a failure, when something fails that we create, we can take away what has worked and what hasn't worked, and then test new things and take it from there. I just want to say as well, I know I've said it a million times already in other videos, but without failing in life, I believe there is no wins. I believe failure has to happen in order to win. Failure is what creates those wins that we have in life. Even the people that you admire, the actors, the artists, no matter what level they are at, even if they've achieved, I mean, it depends on people's perspective, people's views, but even if they've achieved something small or something huge, I'm sure it's been a byproduct of failing multiple times. I truly believe the more failures that we go through, the more wins. And I used to say this a lot in the past, and I never used to understand it. I'll be honest, 100%. I never really used to understand it that much. But when I started to dig deep into athletes and other successful people, and when I seen the stats on maybe their athleticism, is that the right word? But something like that. When I started to do more research into these people, I realized that they've taken the most amount of shots and maybe they've failed the most amount of times, but they were also the opposite of that, in which they scored the most times. They succeeded at a certain thing the most times. So then that really, truly, even recently, changed my perspective on the fact that the more wins that we have, the more failures that we have, the more wins that we will have. And if you think about it, if you're failing lots and lots of times, for me, I would say I fail quite often on some things. I mean, again, it's based on our perspective and what we see as failure. But I would say I do fail a couple of times a week, maybe more than that. But if you really think about it, the more that you fail at something, if there's a lesson within every single failure, then there is going to be more wins in the future. So that is the crazy and great and amazing thing, extraordinary thing about experiencing failure. Yes, it's got its cons, but it also has its pros as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that this video could help you in any type of way. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it. I would very much appreciate it if you could please like this video, subscribe down below, and if you know anyone that may benefit from watching this, then I would very much appreciate it if you could please share this video to them. Thank you so much, and I will see everyone in the next one.